I think it might seem a little obvious what I'm going to talk to you about tonight, right? Hair care products. And what happens when you use too much gel in the 1990s? Because that's when I marched drum corps and also was in marching band for a number of years. So, not really, I'm not here to talk to you about that. Hopefully, I'm here to give you some information that will be very useful to you for the rest of your lives. How about that? Pretty good deal? Yeah. Don't count on it. So, leadership is what we're talking about for this week, and especially this weekend, right? When we think about leadership, do we think that it's something we use in our daily lives? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah, absolutely we do. And when people look at us in this uniform, what do you think? You think, that's absolutely where leadership will be. If there's any place in the world, the Marine Corps has leadership, right? No? Oh, the Army. Oh, here we go. Army jokes. Okay, I'll take that. And okay, I'm going to try and keep this nice. So let me bring it back a little bit. So the military would be a place where you would assume leadership is something that's obvious, right? So do you think there's a secret ingredient to our leadership that's different from yours? Yes or no? You're right. It isn't different. It's exactly the same. So when we talk about leadership, what are we really talking about? Are we talking about positional authority? I mean, clearly this is positional authority, right? You know, there's a lot of stripes right there, which just means that I'm old. That's all that means. But it's not positional authority, because you all have people in your bands that you know, I'm going to follow that person, even though that person's the drum major, right? Do you guys have those people in your bands or in your groups, in your organizations? Well, the same thing happens in the Marine Corps. I have had tons of leaders over the last 21 years where I was like, you know what, I like you, but I'm not really into what you're saying. But I have to do what you tell me to do because you're an officer or you're appointed over me, right? Just like when we're trying to get things done, you have to have people in places that make decisions, even if you don't necessarily agree with them. And it's one of the premises the Marine Corps is built on. We always do things that we don't agree with, but we say, that's what I'm going to do. But you're going to be interested to find out that the Marine Corps' definition of leadership. Do you guys have like a definition inside your books that I've been seeing you have? Like the 3-ring binder I see you have? Which, do you have a definition of leadership, like the actual one? No. Yeah, you do. But we'll come back to that in a second. So you might be surprised to discover that this is the official Marine Corps' definition of leadership. It's the sum of the qualities of intellect, human understanding, and moral character that allows a person to successfully inspire or compel others in a group. Now, does that say anything about warfighting? Nothing. None of that was. And that's the official leadership definition for us. Because leadership isn't about something that's specific to a place or an organization. It's universal. And we all have our preferences for the way we want leadership to be. Like some of us are like, I like that guy or that girl because they appeal to my sense of organization. Or I'll follow that person because they've never led me wrong before. Right? So we have a picture in our mind of what these people look like. And we're more apt to follow them because of that mental imagery. The key is, as we become leaders, or as we're trying to make ourselves better as leaders, is to know what our weaknesses are and strengths, but the bigger key is to know the people that you work with, their strengths and their weaknesses, right? Does that make sense? Because if you know that Chris, right? Yeah, I remembered your name. How about that? So if I know that Chris is really good in the library for the band, right? then you don't work in the library, do you? Did you really? Yeah. Nailed that. I'm just kidding, of course. But because I know he's great there, I'm gonna use him in that respect. I'm not gonna say, you're great in the library, take this weapon, or do something completely different. But I also want to know how I'm going to develop him. I also want to know, okay, Chris is up and coming. He's got these great things going on. Obviously, a good head on his shoulders. Let's use him in another capacity. But I can tell you that through my Marine Corps career, I have not been the best drummer in the world. Like, how many drummers do I have in the audience right now? Right, nice. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so who of you guys know who Scott Johnson is? Of course you do. Yes, Blue Devils, right? So, but you've never heard Billy Rulapaugh before, though, right? You don't even know who that guy is, But the point is that I was put in positions inside of a musical organization, not because of my skill set so much, but because I was able to get people to do things without them feeling like I was tugging and pulling at them. And of course, that put me in a weird spot because I was like, I don't know if I really have the technical ability to lead this drum line, which, by the way, in the Drum and Bugle Corps, I led that drum line for 10 years. And I knew I wasn't the best snare drummer. I mean, easily Scott Johnson's the best snare drummer, when he's standing in front of those guys. It's really easy for him to do that because he is. But the point is that we get tasked with doing things because of who we are, not necessarily because of the skill sets that we have. So if everybody likes Chris and they want to follow him, then the director's probably going to be like, you know what, we should put Chris in charge of some other things. Because it makes sense. Willingness. Going back to that Marine Corps definition. That's something that's different than you will do this. That's what you're doing, right? That's what most people think of when they think Marine Corps leadership or military leadership. Hey, you're going now, that way. And that has happened about 20-some years ago in boot camp, But the real thing is that in the military, specifically in our organization, it's a lot more flat. It's not so much up and down. So we want to compel people and appeal to their reason before we go to, you're doing it, And that's the same way you should want to be with other people too. And the best way to do that with anyone is to be generous. Generous when it doesn't matter. Like, it's easy when we have a task at hand where we're like, hey, we got to do this right now. You, and you, right? But how do you know that these people are going to do what you're asking them to do unless you work on that rapport before that point? Because you're going to want to do things for whoever's asking you to do it if you already feel like, oh yeah, we're good. Instead of wait until the last minute and now I'm stuck with doing this task. Constantly. You have to go up to people and ask how they're doing. There's nothing better than when someone comes up to you when you're like in the dog days of the summer and you don't feel well, but someone's like, hey, how are you doing? You doing okay? How's band camp going so far? Or how's whatever it is going so far? Those words mean more than your positional authority, right? Because it's a relationship. At least they did for me. And that was when I was in Boy Scouts. Yes, I was in Boy Scouts. And that's when I was in marching band, especially marching band, and certainly in drum corps, because we all suffer things when we're doing rehearsals. What's that? Did you say something? Or you sneeze? Okay, we're good. But when we're suffering the most, that's when it matters the most. Not to say that we suffer in band camp. Do we suffer in band camp? Yes, of course we do. So, but the point is that when people are suffering together, as long as they know someone else is suffering with them, they'll be okay. Most of the time. Or when you come up to someone and you're trying to see how they're doing, be sincere. Always be sincere. That's the only reason why I've been successful in the Marine Corps, is because I was sincere with people. I genuinely wanted to know how they were doing. I genuinely wanted to know what I could do to make it better, which is really the ultimate goal of leadership. We always think of leadership as being something where I'm going to take somebody this way, but really it's about giving. Giving your time, your energy, sometimes money. I mean, try not to give that away too much. And it always happens at a time where you don't have the time. That's when it really matters. Hey, I've got these things going on. I can't help you right now. Come on, it'll only take 10 or 20 minutes. All right, I'll do it. Because time is the most precious commodity that you have. It's not money. It's just your time. Because you never get it back. You can't rewind. Yes, I'm coming from the tape days. I know rewind doesn't exist anymore on MP3 players. But the point is that you can't get that time back no matter how hard you try. Even if they say, hey, I'll get you back next week, I'll help you out with this. That's still time gone. So time, your personal time, your sincere generosity, those two things are what make, along with the skill sets that you're learning about leadership, that's what makes people become more inspired about you. Because it makes people willing to do things instead of you tugging and pulling. How about that? Is that pretty good? Does that line up with some of your reasoning, maybe? Does it line up with what you thought I was going to say? It's kind of weird to see a Marine up here saying, generosity? Human understanding? I saw that movie. That's not what I saw. You know what movie I'm talking about, right? Anyway, how many people have seen Marine movies, right? Which ones? Chris? All of them. Man. Which one's your favorite? Yes. Oh, come on. What's that? Okay, yeah. So, Full Metal Jacket, that's a tough one, right? How many of you all have seen that movie? How did you see that movie? You're not supposed to be old enough to see that movie yet. So, Full Metal Jacket is a great descriptor for what we call entry-level leadership skills, meaning I'm the drill instructor and you're going to do what I say to do. But nobody wants that. Nobody. You are never going to keep people willingly involved with things because that's the other part to leadership. You're trying to get people to do things from their own free will, not because you told them to. And for a while, it'll work until you reveal your true colors about how your leadership style really is. And then they'll do it unwillingly, but you never want that. So you never want Hartman. He was the drill instructor in Full Metal Jacket, which I've met Arlie Ermy on several occasions. I have a couple of his books too. And he is anything but that drill instructor in that movie. He's a very low-key person. But he's an actor, and he did it well. But that was Vietnam. We are definitely not in Vietnam era now. So take that with you. Time and your generosity mixed with your skill sets for leadership, and I guarantee you, you will be successful. Okay? Thanks so much.